Haus Des Meeres, which of course means House of Des Meeres. Ahoy there, howdy, hello. My name is Erik, the internet's most anoclophobic tourism vlogger, and I am in your home, or at your job, or in your car. You're not watching this while driving, are you? That's very dangerous. Although if you must, one of my videos is probably a relatively good choice, as I'm likely to put you to sleep, and thus you'll no longer be watching YouTube while driving. Improved safety. The channel is Aggressive Rolling, and this is Haus Des Meeres, or House of the Sea. It's an aquarium, and like all aquariums, answers the age-old question, what if the ocean, but on land? House of the Sea takes this one step further, however, by asking, what if land ocean, but in the sky? Because it's also an observation tower, plus a museum, and a zoo. Which, to be fair, the line between zoo and aquarium can get a bit blurry sometimes. And House of the Sea does refer to itself as an aqua zoo, which I initially thought was maybe just a translation thing. After all, aqua zoo could be a way to describe an aquarium, so I don't think I quite understood going in that there was a real zoo element to this place, above and beyond the aquarium and observation tower parts. And if there's one thing I love, it's when one thing I love is combined with another thing I love. And this place is a regular Denny's menu of things I love. Sure, maybe it's not the best aquarium I've ever been to, or the tallest observation tower, the biggest zoo, or the most evocative museum, but the fact that it's all of these things in one makes it uniquely interesting and awesome. There's also a restaurant, cafe, gift shop of course, and a climbing wall. Yeah, we're not doing that. The Atlantic Tunnel is the fanciest, most obvious way into the exhibition, though there can't really be said to be a main path. Instead, there are lots of different stairways that go lots of different places. There's an elevator as well, but I visited on the Saturday of Easter weekend. Not ideal, but I figured I could get there right at opening, get moving quickly, and hopefully stay ahead of every single nuclear family in Vienna, many of whom had strollers and needed the elevator more than I. This, of course, also meant that the stairs would be faster, and I was in a hurry to see the ceremonial watering of the snakes. And it did not disappoint, even if this lizard wanted nothing to do with it. He seemed like an interesting guy, and I was curious to find out why he didn't want to play in the hose with his snake friends. But I still wanted to get one more floor ahead of things, so I headed up to level 3. Yes, I know that map identified me as being on level 1, not level 2, but let's just say that the map and I have irreconcilable cultural differences. Haus Des Meeres is located in Esterhazy Park in the center of Vienna's Mariahilf district. Just assume I pronounced all of that correctly. Treppenhaus is the single best, most interesting exhibit here, in my opinion. Of course, filming in an aquarium can be difficult, due to constant reflections in the glass of the tanks. But I defeated this problem by wearing a jellyfish shirt. I bet you couldn't even tell. Consisting of ponds, artificial rockwork, multi-level bridges, lush vegetation, and a waterfall, with free-roaming birds and other animals, a nice view of the city, swinging tortoise sex parties, and the free sharing of technology between humans and monkeys. There are also supposed to be crocodiles in here, but I think I missed them. Which seems bad because if there are crocodiles about, I'd prefer to be keenly aware of their exact location at all times. I didn't get eaten though, so I guess it all worked out, depending on your perspective. Ah well, maybe they were up in the trees somewhere. Don't worry, little guy. I was only kidding about there being crocodiles up here. Although, again, I'm not exactly sure where they were, so I guess I can't rule it out entirely, joke or not. Having sufficiently frightened the monkeys, I was off to other things. Sharky's Cafe looked interesting, but wasn't yet open for the day. I had fancier plans regardless. Fish. Did you know that the plural of fish, in English, is fish? Except when it's fishes? Which it is when you're talking about different types of fish instead of just lots of one type of fish. For example, there are lots of fishes at the Aqua Zoo. According to Wikipedia, the aquarium houses over 10,000 aquatic beings, which nicely sidesteps the question of how exactly one defines the word fish, but also strongly implies the existence of aliens living in a concrete bunker in Austria. Although I certainly would believe that Japanese spider crabs are from another planet, maybe even another galaxy. For the Komodo dragon, this is like a penthouse apartment. He's a bit of a loner, but if someone did come over, I'm sure they'd be very impressed. The lemurs are used to it, though, because they live in trees. There's also an upcharge animal encounter where you get to hold and pet the lemurs. I did not participate because, frankly, the lemurs should be paying me. The building consists of 13 floors, with the ground floor being 0, because Europe, don't get me started, and the top floor being 11.
So many stairs.
Which makes perfect sense mathematically, as long as we insert an extra floor in there and designate it with an integer. Thanks, floor 9.1.
I see people use integers. Cowards.
Have I mentioned there are a lot of stairs? In fact, there are precisely 1,346 steps if you add all the stairways here together. A number I entirely made up, but that feels pretty accurate.
Oh boy.
Inanon Inan is the museum part of the attraction. It means remembering inside and is pronounced exactly as I did so. As I pronounced it? Yeah, close enough, I think. It's all about the history of the building itself before it was an aquarium. Flak Term 5 was an anti-aircraft defense tower built in 1944, which allowed Vienna to stave off air raids and acted as a civilian bomb shelter during World War II. With concrete walls up to 11 feet thick, these flak towers were considered largely impenetrable against anything their enemies could throw at them at the time. What enemies, you ask? Well, while I learned about World War II in school, and it's always been a popular subject for American documentaries, Austria was seldom mentioned, and that's because it kind of didn't exist, having been annexed by Germany in 1938. Wait, what's going on here? Did two random guests smuggle a monkey out onto this balcony? They're not allowed to do that, are they? After the war, Flak Term 5 was used as a hostel and later as a barracks for firefighters, before finally being converted into an aquarium in the 1960s. Because why not? The top floor is an outdoor observation deck that reminds me somewhat of the Space Needle, though square instead of round, with floor to no ceiling glass barriers. Vienna does have a pure observation tower as well, the Danube Tower, and while that's much taller, about 827 feet as opposed to Haus Des Meeres' height of 154 feet, it's also well outside of the city center, whereas this is surrounded by the densely packed Baroque architecture and charm of downtown, for lack of a better term. The middle part of this top floor is 360 Ocean Sky, a full-service restaurant that doesn't rotate, but did provide me with this breakfast sandwich, which was one of the best things I ate in Vienna, other than ice cream. Obviously, the building has undergone many renovations over the years, and had lots added to it. Really, it's quite impressive as an example of taking something dubious and dark and transforming it into something educational, inspiring, and fun. Of course, I realize there are many people who oppose aquariums and zoos on principle, out of concern for the animals contained therein. And while I certainly understand the thinking behind that view, I would argue that aquariums and zoos represent a relatively high mark in humanity's treatment of the world around us and the creatures we share our planet with. If that sounds like faint praise, well, it kind of is. But until we can stop poisoning everything around us in the natural world, it may be that zoos and aquariums become the only place where some species can continue to exist at all. If you want to advocate for the animals, you absolutely should. But if the concern is our collective animal husbandry as a species, then I would humbly suggest that we start with our treatment of the animals we eat, rather than protesting those who, in their sometimes imperfect way, are ultimately trying to conserve, protect, and celebrate the natural world, even if it is in microcosm. If you disagree, feel free to leave a comment, and also subscribe so that you can hear all of my future bad opinions as well.
Apparently this area is hard to find because no one is here but me. And this place is crowded, so yeah.
This short hallway with frogs and axolotls is next to the Treppenhaus and even visible from it through glass, but not directly connected. In fact, the only way to get here is to take one specific outer stairway down from the floor above and then return back up that same stairway. As far as I can tell, it's not stroller or wheelchair accessible at all, and I saw no other guests in the 10 minutes or so that I spent here. So I have to think that most visitors miss it entirely. Kind of a weird design, but it worked out for me because the crowds were here in force by this point. I thought about trying to share the news of this location with some of the other patrons, but figured I'd just come across as a lunatic weirdo rather than just a regular weirdo like I normally do. Did I like Haus Des Meeres? Well, yes, of course. I said so at the beginning. Weren't you listening?
Awesome.
I only give scores to amusement parks, but I've decided to create a special award for other places that I consider must-visits. Ding! Not every place will get one, even if I hold a positive opinion of it. No, this is for things that are really special, and probably also especially weird, like House of the Sea. I don't know if I'll ever have the chance to go back, but if I do, I will steal a monkey.
Oh, oh, oh,
There's just a little bit of a line to get in. Luckily, I'm leaving because I got here earlier and already did it. Because I am smart. Sometimes.